But I was very shocked at what I began to find as I Google searched him. It was very disturbing. I couldn't believe it. And I seen this demonic spirit in the hallway, and it appeared to be look like a man in a trench coat, and proceeds to enter from our hallway to our bedroom. If I did not get out, one of us could end up dead or in jail. I'm thankful that I didn't die in the middle of my sin, because I know that I would have gone to hell. I know that my eternal home would have been hell. So today I've decided I finally want to share my story of my experience of being a domestic violence survivor. And I want to be as transparent with y'all as I possibly can. But with so much going on in the world right now with domestic violence and celebrities, and also trends on TikTok with victims coming out and spreading awareness of domestic violence and how they've been abused, how they've been a victim of this matter, I just thought it was only right for me to come out and share my experience as well. So many of you may know, my name is Crystal Thornton. This is my YouTube channel, and I have felt led in a strong urge to just start sharing my testimony and the experience of this. If you have not seen my full testimony, we will link it up here for you, so you can click on that and hear my full testimony. And I pray it impacts you in some form or fashion and encourages you. So, my experience with domestic violence. I began dating a guy back in 2012. It was my senior year of high school, and he actually attended my high school, but he was a year older than me, so he had graduated before I did. And he was my first serious boyfriend, I would say, and I started dating him, like I mentioned, in 2012, and we dated for up until 2014, 2015, very on and off as well. But yeah, he was one of my serious boyfriends at the time, and I really gave my all to this person. I really thought that I was going to marry him, have a life with him, have a family with him, all the things. And it quickly took a turn, for the worse. And I think that as a survivor, looking back, I really began to see the red flags in this person very, very quickly. So, like I said, we started dating in 2012. I was still a senior in high school, and he already was out of high school. And so things really got quick, just went very fast quickly. And I remember us getting more serious, dating, getting further in our relationship. And quickly he started to become, controlling, jealous, feeling like he was already, as if he was like my husband or a father figure, like controlling me in those types of ways. Like, hey, you can't be here, you can't go there, you can't hang out with these friends. And I never really thought too much of it, because honestly, I was like, well, he's my boyfriend, right? So, I mean, maybe he's right. Maybe I shouldn't just hang out with my friends. Maybe I should hang out with him more or be around him more and not so much of my friends. But definitely looking back now, it was a red flag. And so he didn't like a lot of my friends. So I had ended up cutting them off or not being friends with them anymore. And I remember even my own parents not being fond of him, and because of the fact that he was older and you know, just the fact he was older, and I feel like my mom recognized that he was not a good guy for me. Like, that mother intuition of just seeing like you have that friend or you have that person that goes around your child and you're like, something's not right about this person. And she definitely had that about him. And I never really paid much attention to her. I never really believed her. I was so like head over heels over him. And he was just my first ever serious boyfriend. So I took him really just, I was like so in love and so head over heels, like I mentioned. So I wasn't wanting to hear what my parents liked or didn't like. And I was already an adult at this point. So I was definitely not trying to hear what my parents wanted from me anymore. I was getting to that point where it was like, I don't care what you want, it's what I want. And I just wanted to appease my flesh. So then 2012, 2013 comes around, and I just know that we start getting more serious and things like that, and they start moving quicker. And my parents do not like how I'm possibly staying out late with him, coming home late, not abiding by the rules, not coming home at my curfew. And I remember that they gave me an ultimatum and telling me, hey, if you're going to continue to see this guy, we're going to need you to get out. Or if you break up with him, you can stay here. And I wasn't in a place where I wanted to break up with him, honestly. Like I said, there were red flags, clear indicators of red flags, but it wasn't enough for me to stop seeing him. And keep in mind that we began to have an intimacy, relationship, sex, and things of that sort. And it started to develop a soul tie where if you're having intimate relationships with people, then it's harder to break that bond. It's harder to break that tie with them. And so, like I said, when they began to tell me the ultimatum, I wasn't for it. And without a shadow of a doubt, I quickly just moved out. We moved out together, actually. We ended up getting an apartment together and lived together. And that was the first time I've ever moved in with someone, a roommate, lived with someone, a boyfriend even at that. And a lot transpired for sure. The way I felt about moving in with him was so mixed feelings. Like I was excited, but yet I was upset and sad because my parents weren't for me in that way of being for my relationship. But also happy because I got to do something I wanted to do for once and be with someone that I wanted to be with. And quickly, it started to unravel and the truth began to come out. So it didn't take long for us to, get accustomed to each other and just start living together and being with each other. At this time, I was going to college, a community college in the town, and I was pursuing my career to be a pharmacist and going for my basics in pharmacy. Like I said, check out my testimony for what happened there. But as I was going to school and as I was pursuing school, he was just working a regular job, like a 9-to-5 job at an insurance company place. And, we were just going about our business and living life. And I just remember him always being controlling of where I was, who I was with. And I'm a type of girl that I love to just get ready, get dressed, fix my hair. Even my current husband sometimes is like, why are you getting ready? Like, and not in a way of controlling, but just out of curiosity. But this particular boyfriend was so curious. Like, he was like, why are you getting ready? Like, who is there? And where are you going? And who is going to be there? And all these things. And he was just so insecure that I was getting ready for someone or somebody else. And I look back now, and his insecurity was from a place of knowing that he did not treat me well. He wasn't treating me well. He wasn't honoring me. He wasn't treating me as if he should have. And so he was afraid and intimidated that even if I stepped out and met someone else, that I possibly would have left him. And at this point, he was being abusive. He was hitting me, slapping me, cussing me out, calling me names. If I didn't answer my phone, I would get a talk from him. I would get voicemails, whatever the things, all kinds of things, all kinds of names. Any little thing could start an argument. I remember a time where we were having an argument and we were on the couch in the living room. And he got really upset about something. And I really don't remember what the argument was about. But all I remember is that I was trying to de-escalate the situation and I stormed off into the room. And before I stormed off, there was a Coke bottle on the table, the coffee table, and he proceeds to grab the Coke bottle and he throws it at me as hard as he can. When he throws it, it then tumbles me to the ground. I literally fall to the ground because he hit me so hard in the behind that I had to fall. And I fell to the ground and was crying and couldn't believe it. And I remember him telling me, that's what you get. Like, don't F with me. And I was so taken back. He storms out, slams the door, leaves the apartment, drives off. And I'm there left crying, upset, distraught. I couldn't believe that this has happened. This occurred, this played out. And I was just sitting there sobbing, sitting there crying, sitting there just couldn't believe my life has come to this. Like, how did I get myself here? Thinking those thoughts of my life and all that has come about to this situation. And I remember seeing a figure, like a black, dark spirit in the hallway. And I was on the floor, mind you, and I was crying, all the things, feeling all kinds of emotions, floods of emotions just coming about. And I seen this demonic spirit in the hallway, and it appeared to be look like a man in a trench coat. And he was in the hallway, and then he stays there for about a minute or so looking at me, I feel like on the floor in agony, and proceeds to enter from our hallway to our bedroom. And that was really a moment for me that I couldn't do this anymore. Like, all the times where I covered up for him, I lied for him, I would go to work sometimes with scars or hits or bruises or any of those things on me, and covering up for him, saying I fell or saying I hit myself, saying it was my fault or I worked out too hard or whatever the case was, that I made up all these lies for him and covered up his manipulation. I covered up his evilness and covered up all the things that he done to me. And in hopes that me covering up for him, that he would change or he would love me back or he could get help. But none of it ever was good enough, And I came to a place that night that I really had a realization after seeing that demonic spirit that I had to get out, because if I did not get out, one of us could end up dead or in jail, or both of us. And I had made a decision that I needed to come forward. I needed to tell someone. I needed to let people know that I was being abused. And I remember my mom, she texted me and she said, I'm praying for you. I love you. And I hope that you're safe. And I don't believe in coincidences. I don't believe that she sent that text out of just coincidence. I mean, maybe some people do believe that, but I didn't quite believe that. I believe that she sent that text by divine appointment on purpose. And I believe that God maybe even instructed her to send that to me, because little did she know that I was in agony. I was in pain. I was sending out a cry for help. without even knowing who I could cry to. And I needed help in that moment, and I didn't know how to get help. I didn't feel like I had help. I didn't feel like I knew of a way out. But I began to open up to her about the situation and the matter, and I called her and let her know. And without hesitation, she tells me that we just need to get me out of there as soon as we can. Just get my stuff, get out, and leave. And I was so shocked that, she just wanted to help and wanted to get me out. But I think she was really at a place where she knew the desperation of her daughter, and she would go to any measure to get me out of the situation that I was in. So we began to take steps of how to get me out of here without him really knowing, or him not fighting me back and things like that. And mind you, we did not get the cops involved. I never once called the cops on this man. Like, I should have, knowing what I know now, I should have called the cops, and no one in the apartment complex ever called the cops on us either. So no one ever called the cops. I never called the cops. I never got the law involved. And this day now, if anything ever happened to me or my children in that way, like, I would know what to do. Call the cops if you're in a situation like that. Don't wait, get the law involved and get help. But we did not call the cops. I remember that I had came home from work one day, and I told her to meet me at the apartment complex to get my stuff. And so we both go in there together, and I knock on the door because I think I didn't have a key or something at this time. Or no, actually I do have a key. I'm sorry. I have a key. I open the door, and then is right there waiting for me. And I feel like if I wouldn't have had my mom there, I feel like he was going to hit me. And he looks at me, and he definitely looked like he was gonna like bat his arm back and like punch me or sock me. But he sees her, and he gets scared, and he just runs out of that place like he's seen a ghost or something, and he scurries off. And even my mom told him, "You don't dare put a hand on her, like, you're done." And we go inside, we get my things as much as we can. I don't believe we got everything, but we get as much as we can. And we leave. We get my stuff, and we get out, and we go. But he definitely would have put up a fight if I was not alone. If I would have went alone by myself, I don't believe I would have made it out alive. And there are plenty of times that I can say that I shouldn't be here right now, sitting here. But by the grace of God, I'm not 6 feet under somewhere, in a casket. But my heart really goes out to, those that are in these situations, and those that are in this type of relationships. I know that sometimes we don't always look like the hell that we've been through, but I tell you that I've been through some hell. I've been through some hell with this man, and he, ran me through the ringer. He definitely dragged my name through the mud. He definitely has called me all kinds of things, hit me, abused me mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, all the things. And I don't regret leaving that day that I left. And it was so hurtful to me, to see that all transpire. Like, it took all this for me to leave. It took all this for me to get out of this situation. But enough was enough. I was tired of being sick and tired. I was tired of being mistreated. I was tired of being treated like a dog, or, just being abused in such a way that I've never experienced or encountered. Like, if you love someone, you don't abuse them. You don't mistreat them. You don't call them out of their name. You don't belittle them, and I think that we are looking often for love in so many wrong places, that he could not provide love for me. He could not lead me because he was not even led by God himself. And so I really learned a lot in that relationship, and I really began to discover who I was and truly how strong I was to even just get out and then to begin speaking out on such matters, because I know that victims do not want to talk about these situations most times and they're not ready. And I understand that. And I sympathize with that. And I just know that there's freedom though in you getting out. There's freedom in you sharing your testimony when you're ready. There's freedom, and don't let others dismiss that or downplay that, because there truly is freedom. And even myself, by telling y'all of the experiences I've encountered with this, I hope that it helps someone and encourages someone. But like I said, I got out, and mind you that we were on the lease together, and a lot transpired. I remember that I didn't even think to get my name off the lease or tell the leasing apartment like, hey, like I'm no longer living here. None of those things. So some months go by. I think it's like 3 months, maybe 4 months, and the leasing office calls me and lets me know that he was no longer paying the bill, or the bills were not paid, the rent was not paid. And so that they told me they were going to evict us because they still believed that I was living there. They were going to evict us and lock us out essentially. And so I end up going there with my mom and talking to them and letting them know I'm not on the lease. And I felt led to share with the leasing manager, hey, that my boyfriend, I moved out because my boyfriend was abusing me. He physically was abusing me. I had bruises, I had scars. I possibly could have been dead if I stayed in this relationship any longer. And she heard me out. Like, I feel like it was by God's grace that I even just felt led to just share my story with her, because she let me off and she said, I am not going to put this on your credit and put this on your record or of any sort. I'm just going to dismiss that you are even on the lease, and I'm going to just put it on his record and his credit. And I could not believe that she had such favor with me. But I truly believe that I look back that she had been through a similar situation, or she knows what it's like to have been in an abusive relationship, and you're caught up in the mix of it all. And it's so messy sometimes that you're just trying to get out. And that's what I was literally doing, is just trying to get out, just trying to get free, just trying to get away from him as fast and as quick as I could, because I wanted nothing more to do with him. If that means not being in the apartment with him, not being on a lease with him anymore, good, great. He can keep it all. He can have it all. I don't want anything to do with it. And so I was just very grateful that she had that compassion on me. Like, she didn't have to do that. She didn't have to feel sorry for me. She didn't have to just empathize with me on what was going on. Like, she really knew, I feel like deep down in her heart, that she knew exactly what I was going through. And so I ended up getting out of that, and thank God. And, time transpires and things like that. And I'm telling my mom, Mom, I really need to get counseling for this. I really feel like there's something wrong mentally. Like, I'm just not right. I'm not the same anymore. And I didn't know the severity of how much the abuse impacted my mental health, and how much it impacted my spiritual health and emotional health, all the things. And I really felt like I could see a difference in myself. Like, he took apart a girl that was so strong, but yet I lost a part of myself being with that man. And I look back and I really was not in great mental condition. Like, I was getting by, but I knew that something in me needed to release that abuse and start talking about it, go to therapy, go to counseling, get help. But in my culture, oftentimes we don't go to counseling. We don't have therapists. We don't talk about our issues out loud to strangers. whatever the sort. And she just dismissed it and said, no, you're fine. You're physically fine. You're not getting hit anymore. You're not being abused. Like, you're okay. Swept it under the rug, right? And so for years, I swept it under the rug. I kept it there. I harbored it and was just bitter, angry of the situation. And it was just festering. And up until I went to ministry school, it festered. But because of the unaddressed wounds, it began to just increase and transpire and transfer into other things, into other situations, into other relationships I had. And I just began to try to fill that void with drinking, with promiscuity, with just all the things of self, feeling myself and feeling what my flesh wanted, when now how, like, all the things I wanted just to fill the void that my ex-boyfriend had created in me. And I was just searching, searching for someone to love me, someone to embrace me, someone other than God to just feel that, when ultimately only God is created to fill a void that deep within you. No one else can fill that void. No thing, no person, no entity, none of those things can fill a void like God truly can. And it wasn't until 2018 that I really realized that and learned that. I end up going to ministry school in Gainesville, Georgia. And while I was there, I began to have night terrors of my ex-boyfriend coming back and pursuing me and chasing me down, hunting me in such a way that he was so upset with me for leaving him that he was gonna ultimately kill me, hurt me, harm me, whatever. And I would wake up several nights like I just genuinely felt like I was being attacked. And I remember telling someone in college, like, hey, I need help. Like, I'm having all these demonic dreams, these demonic attacks. Like, I need to talk to someone about this and get help and be set free. And so I remember one of the pastor's wives, she actively helps domestic violence patients and people and sexually assaulted people as well, like all the things, those that have been abused in every form or fashion. And I cried out to her and I confided in her. And so I talked to her and got to meet with her one day and began to tell her my whole story of the situation. And so I began telling her the backstory of me, how I got there, and then my relationship with my ex-boyfriend. And at this time, I wasn't for sure if I had forgave my ex-boyfriend. I've done a lot of just thinking and meditating and thinking on if I really have forgiven him by this time. And, I began to tell her all these things. I wasn't bashing him, but just basically telling her the truth of the matter and how I got here, how I came to this point. Why am I having night terrors? Why do I feel like I am being attacked in such a spiritual way? So I believe that this was a warning from God. And I believe that I was at the gym one time and he told me, he's like, if you don't deal with this now, it's going to deal with you later. And I was so intimidated by that. I was like, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, it's if I don't deal with this, like, and I truly believe that he was telling me to deal with my trauma and deal with my hurt, because if not, it was going to deal with me in other ways, with other relationships or later down the road in the future. And quickly I was alarmed and I told her about this and let her know of how intense the dreams were. So we began to talk about him and discovering the truth and all the hurt, uncovering it all and revealing it all and it all out on the table. And I know that that's a lot for some victims to just, relive that again. And I know that it can be a big thing and it can be a scary moment for you. but it was one of the most freeing things I've ever done. It was one of the most liberating things I've ever done. To hear me just talk about my story and how I made it to the other side and how I shouldn't be here, but I am by God's grace and his mercy. But letting her know that and, telling her the truth of the situation. And I remember she looked at me and she said, Crystal, I truly believe that you forgive him, but I think that you don't forgive yourself. And man, it hit me like a ton of bricks when that statement was said to me. And so I remember ending the session and going home to my apartment and just thinking like, do I really forgive myself? And I think later that night I went to work out. And I always work out just to clear my mind and, just to mentally think and be clear. And so I go work out, and in our apartment complex at the time, it had mirrors on the walls, and I was on the treadmill. And then after I got off the treadmill, I began to just look at myself in the mirror. I felt like God told me, hey, begin to look at yourself. And I just look at myself, and I felt compelled to just tell myself like, hey, Crystal, I forgive you. I forgive you. And a part of me, I felt like, told me back, said, what took you so long? What took you so long? And it was like this spirit of possibly unforgiveness or bitterness, anger, all the things just released off of me when I said that over myself. And I just looked at myself in the eye and really just meant it and said, I forgive you. Because I know that your younger self didn't know any better. You were just ignorant. You didn't know what this person was capable of. You didn't know that he didn't have the capacity to fully love you like Christ does. That he wasn't even submitted under Christ, but now you know. And now you know the things that you know. And so I remember going back to counseling a week or two later and telling her what I did. And she was so proud of me. She said, what did that feel like? And what led you to that point? I said, I didn't lead myself to any point. I felt like God led me to do what I had been needing to do, but I just was in a clear headspace that I could finally do that to myself and give myself that, because at the end of the day, I needed to do that. I needed to forgive myself. I needed to let go of things that I did in my past that my younger self didn't fully know what I was doing. So she was very proud, like I said, and we just start, laying things down. I remember I began to write things down that I may had still been holding on to, writing down, I hate the way he called me this, or I hate the way he hit me and he couldn't love on me. I hate the way that he tried to control me, or, and putting those things out, laying them out, writing them out on the cards, and then declaring that it was covered by the blood of Jesus after. And I just remembered that in declaring like what I was still holding on to, what I was still offended by, what I was still harboring in my heart, and releasing it, that spiritually it released forgiveness to him, to someone that may not even be sorry, but yet to release him from a debt that I had him held by. And I wanted to forgive him. I wanted to let it go, and not to condone what he did to me, but to release him from the unforgiveness that I had harboring in my heart. Because forgiveness isn't always about the other person, it's more sometimes about yourself and helping you release those things in your heart to not carry such offenses or such anger, such bitterness. And your heart is such a sacred place that there's no room for offense, there's no room for bitterness and anger and trauma that I know that this world can bring us sometimes. But I just let you know right now that it's such a sacred place. And if you find yourself, harboring those things, write things down, talk about them, go to therapy, get healing, seek God, because I know that He is the healer of all healers. He's healed me from multiple things, not just healing from an ex-boyfriend, but physical healings, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And I just know that He can heal you too. He's still in the healing business. And I know a lot of people sometimes don't believe, and they believe that, oh, that's just Bible times and He doesn't do that anymore. But I am a testament to Him and His healing power in various ways. So many that we'd be here all night. But as I said in the counseling, that it really helped me to receive healing in a way that I needed to. And as I began to do these things quickly, it ended the night terrors. And I truly believe that it was very spiritual with these night terrors, and it was God's way of saying, get help, talk about your issues, speak out, let someone else know. As the Bible even says, when you confess your sins to your brother, you will be healed, and there's healing. So I believe that in the confession with a source that I can confide in, there was healing in that, and there was freedom, there was liberation, there was a revealing of God's goodness and God's mercy and God's glory. And it really has changed my life and transformed me. And I'm a big advocate on going to counseling, seeking help, seeking wise counsel on these types of things. Don't deal with it by yourself. Don't battle alone, and don't struggle alone. Find someone and confide in someone where you can talk to about these things, because I know that we're not meant to do life alone. We're not meant to go through these types of things alone. And more than not, I see that women and men are going through these things. And it's so sad to me that our culture truly normalizes abuse, like in so many ways, in so many fashions. Like I was telling my husband, even in the church, it's very normalized. And I have recently in my spirit have seen a bride, like a bride that's wearing a white gown, a beautiful bride, and her gown is very damaged. It's dirty. She looks malnourished. She looks beat up. She doesn't look taken care of. And truly, that's how I see God's bride in the church, not being taken care of and being abused, being hurt, being harmed, not looked after. And God is not pleased. I think of if my husband gave me to someone for 2 or 3 months and said, here, take care of my wife, feed her, clothe her, take care of her, and I'll be back in 2 or 3 months. And when I come back, I'll get her. And he comes back and I'm not fed, I'm not clothed, I'm beat up, I'm chained up, whatever the case is. And he would be upset, and rightfully so. So the same applies with God, and I think that so many times we're condoning abuse, we're normalizing abuse, we're dismissing abuse. Even in the situation with this boyfriend, I remember his own mom telling her that I was being abused by her son. And quickly she said, what did you do to be hit and to get hit? And no matter what I did or didn't do, it's never an excuse to put your hands on a woman. It never is. And so much right now with the media that's going on with the celebrities and the cases and everything that's transpiring, I believe that this is awakening and opening and exposing something that's been going on for years in the church, in society, with people. Like, don't allow yourself to just go through that and endure that. Like, you're so worthy. You're so worthy. You're so valuable that if I could tell my younger self and I had someone to confide in, I would have got out way sooner. I would have not taken that. I would have just put a stand to it and put my foot down. But I'm here to encourage somebody that if you're going through and enduring any type of abuse, get out, find a way out, find someone to confide in and tell someone what is going on. And I know that it can be scary. I know that it can bring a lot of turmoil. It can open up a can of worms. But truly, there is freedom in exposure. There is freedom in telling the truth. That there is freedom in letting people know your story that can handle your story. You know, the Bible says, do not cast your pearls among swine. Like, do not cast what's sacred to you or what is yours to just anyone, because most people can't handle it. So finding people that you can confide in, that are trustworthy, that are loyal, that can honor your story and truly do something with it that needs to be done. And with this, I recently found out about more things about my ex. And I remember waking up probably about 2 weeks ago. God had told me to look him up and Google search him. And it all was full circle and it all began to make sense. But as I began to look him up, I was like, he's either dead, he's either in jail, or he's somewhere off in La La Land. But I was very shocked at what I began to find as I Google searched him. It was very disturbing. I couldn't believe it. So I search his name and he pops up, of course. And it begins to say in the Google search, as I began to click websites and find out more information, that he is in a jail. And his charges were under sexual assault of a minor. And it really just hit me that God really did save me. And so much so that I wanted this person so bad at one time. I would have died for this person, killed for this person, gave my life for this person. But truly, it was God and his loving kindness that kept me from this person. And seeing that and seeing the news I found out about him, I feel like God was like, do you see now why I kept you from him? You wanted him so bad, but I saved you. And my younger self wouldn't have understood. But now that I'm older, now that years have gone by and time and all the things healing my journey of living life without him, I genuinely am grateful. I'm thankful that God kept me from such a man or such an experience, such hell that I didn't need to walk through. I feel like I told my husband this analogy with the movie Lion King, where Simba is in the valley and he's playing in there, and then he a stampede is coming, and Mufasa saves Simba. And I feel like that's how God was with me, that he took me out of that valley right before the stampede came. And I'm just so grateful. Like, I really am. Like, and I can't express it enough. And sometimes we don't understand like why God does what he does, or we don't understand like right now. But years down the road, we will begin to understand. And truly, I can fully say that I'm really thankful. I'm grateful. And I cannot believe the God we serve, that he's just so merciful. And though I may kick and fuss and fight and not want to surrender, not want to do it his way, be mad, be upset, be throwing a pity party, he has a bigger plan for me. And if I would have settled for that man that was abusing me, that was calling me names, that was throwing me on the floor, that was throwing me up against a wall, that was controlling, if I would have settled for that man and even had children with him and all the things, and thank God I never did, but I wouldn't have known what a good man feels like, because my husband is who God had for me all along. But because I decided to get out of a situation that was so heartbreaking at the time, I didn't understand and I didn't want to get out. But yet I was like, it's better to let go than it is to hold on. It's like that analogy, or that like picture. I always see it on social, where someone's holding a rope and they are hurting more by holding this rope. And once they let go, you can still see the scars and the wounds and the tear. But once they let go, it's better to let it go, and the wound won't hurt as bad if you just let it go. And that's what I felt. I was like, I have to let him go. I have to. Like, there's no choice. Like, it's harder to be in a situation that is hurting me and doing me wrong and bringing me nothing, adding nothing to my life, than if I just let go. And sure enough, I let go, and my life changed, and my life transformed, and my life, I found better. But I had to make the decision to let go, to step out, to take a step of faith. And in that, God himself was preparing another man for me, where I didn't even think that I would ever get married. I didn't think I would ever have children. But God prepared a place for me. I remember in the Bible in 1 Samuel that King Saul, he was going to meet Samuel for the first time, and he was going and looking for his father's donkeys, because I believe that they got out and they were lost, and so Saul was looking for them. But in that time, Saul found Samuel and he had dinner with him, and Samuel cut a piece and a portion and saved it and put it aside for King Saul. Even though I believe that they had already all ate, he saved a piece for King Saul. And I think of that with this, that God put aside my husband for me. He already had someone in store for me, and what was mine was mine. And I didn't have to go begging for it. I didn't have to strive for it, but God provided. If I just willingly gave up something that was no longer doing me a service. And in all this, I've really grown, I've matured, I've learned, but I just want to be a light to someone that is going through this right now. You may not know of a way out. You may not know what to do, but I believe that with God, there is always a way out. With God, there is always a greater plan. You know, the blood of God, the blood of Jesus speaks a better word. And you don't have to accept the lies that the enemy has told you all these years, or he has told you, or she has told you, your abuser. Because I know for a fact that you are so worthy. Because if you weren't, Christ wouldn't have died for you. You're worthy, and you're so much more than the abuse that you may be enduring. And I just want to help someone. And if you need help, if you need to get out, there is a number of these things, a domestic violence number. We can put it on the screen, but reach out, ask for help, call someone, let someone know that this is occurring, but don't keep enduring it, my friend. Like, you're so much more than what you're going through and the pain that you may be enduring. But take it from me that if you wait on the Lord and you pursue the Lord with your whole heart, all these things will be added unto you. The kingdom of heaven will be added unto you. And God has someone put aside for you that can rightfully love you the way you're supposed to be loved, the way you're supposed to be cherished, the way you're supposed to be treated, and not to take place of God by no means, because my husband is still flesh. I love him, but he's not perfect, and he was never created to take the place of God. But in finding God, I found a spouse and a significant other that loves the Lord just as much as I do. And no greater blessing than that in itself. And I just want you to know there's someone out there for you. If that is the Lord's will, there is someone there. So hold on to his promises and keep his word close to your heart. And don't think twice about what you're going through right now, that's the end all be all, because it never is the end. If you have a heartbeat, if you have air in your lungs, God is not done with you. He's not done writing your story. And though it may seem like you're done sometimes and you're in the thick of it all, he's not done. He's just getting started. And I just want to let you all know that God loves you. You're beautiful. You're wonderfully made, the Bible declares in Psalm 139. And I don't know who needs this. I don't know why this was so strong in my spirit to just share that I've been abused and I'm gone now. I'm a survivor. I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that God's hand was on my life. I'm thankful that I didn't die in the middle of my sin, because I know that I would have gone to hell. I know that my eternal home would have been hell. But I'm thankful for the mercy of God. He has mercy on those that he knows will repent. He knows that you can come to a place where you're repentive and you want him and you want to stop this lifestyle. So I just encourage someone that if you're feeling this way, if you're feeling like you want to get out, this may be your sign. This may be it. And the Lord sent me to tell you. So do what you can in order to get out of your situation, because I know so many people go through it. But if we took a stand and we stood up for what was right, we would probably hear less and less about this. And not to blame us as victims, but to truly just stick it to the devil and stick it to the darkness, and to know your worth. Know that you're worth so much more, even if your earthly parents never told you a day in your life that you're worthy, you're valuable. Let me be the first to tell you that you are. You are God's child, and he took his time on you. He made you for such a time as this. And I just want you out. I want you to get help. I want you to live God's life and plan that he has for you, his will. He wants you in perfect peace, and he wants the best for you. So I hope this encouraged someone. If you have any questions about my story, my testimony, feel free to reach out. Feel free to comment below. I'd be glad to share anything that I said. And I just hope it encourages someone today. I know that this topic is a very heavy topic, but it's very necessary that we start having these conversations. And I believe that the more we talk about it, the more victims that can be saved from this type of behavior. So I love you guys. Stay safe, stay blessed, and keep God first, because God will never fail you. He'll never let you down. And he has your best interest at heart. So Love you guys. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope it blessed you. Like I said, check out my testimony video if you have not seen the full testimony of mine, and like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.